After King Joffrey's death, Cersei grieves the loss of her eldest son while cradling his lifeless body in her arms. Overcome with anger and suspicion, she demands that Sansa Stark be found. In response, her father, Tywin Lannister, orders the capital to be sealed, preventing anyone from leaving. Prince Tommen Baratheon visits the Great Sept of Baelor to pay his respects to his deceased brother. Tywin, seizing the moment, begins advising the young prince on the traits of a successful king. After Tywin and Tommen depart, Jaime arrives to find Cersei consumed with grief and vengeance, insisting that Tyrion and Sansa are responsible for Joffrey's death. Jaime dismisses the Septon and Septas to be alone with her, attempting to console her through his affections. When Cersei resists, insisting that the Sept, during a private viewing of their son's body, is not the proper place for intimacy, Jaime ignores her protests and becomes forceful. Despite Cersei's repeated objections, he persists, disregarding her pleas and saying, "I don't care." The encounter unfolds next to their dead son's corpse. A flashback to the wedding shows Sansa escaping from King's Landing with the help of Esser Dantos Hollard, who leads her to a ship anchored off the coast. Once aboard, Sansa is met by Lord Petter Littlefinger Bellish. Bellish acknowledges that he still owes Dantos a reward for his service, but instead of payment, he has two of his men kill Dantos with crossbows. Calmly, Bellish explains to a shocked Sansa that Esser Dantos was nothing more than a drunken fool, motivated purely by money, and would have betrayed her the moment a better offer came along. To drive the point home, he reveals that the priceless necklace Dantos gave her was actually crafted only a few weeks earlier under Bellish's orders. Confused and horrified by this revelation, Sansa hesitates, but Bellish reassures her with a chilling promise: he will keep her safe. Tywin interrupts Oberyn Martell in the middle of an intimate encounter with Ellaria Sand and Deliver to discuss Tyrion's upcoming trial for Joffrey's murder. Tywin raises the subject of Oberyn's expertise with poisons, suggesting a possible link between that knowledge and Joffrey's suspected poisoning, and subtly questions whether Oberyn might have aided Tyrion. The conversation shifts to the murder of Oberyn's sister, Elia, who was brutally killed by Tywin's pet, the Mountain, during the sack of King's Landing. Tywin denies ordering her death, but offers Oberyn a chance to confront the Mountain and seek justice. He also proposes a seat on the small council if Oberyn agrees to serve as the third judge at Tyrion's trial. Tywin explains that he seeks to strengthen ties with Dorne to unite the Seven Kingdoms against looming threats, the Greyjoy Rebellion, the Wildling army advancing on the Wall, and the growing danger posed by a Targaryen girl in the east with a formidable army and 3 dragons. Tywin notes that the Dornish were the only ones to successfully resist Aegon Targaryen's dragons during his conquest of Westeros. With a wry smile, Oberyn remarks that it must be difficult for Tywin to admit he needs the Dornish. Tyrion sits confined in a cell in King's Landing when his loyal squire, Podrick Payne, sneaks in with food and supplies. Pod informs Tyrion that he has been tasked with compiling a list of witnesses for Tyrion's defense. Tyrion names his wife Sansa, but Pod reveals that she vanished shortly after Joffrey's death. Bronn is also unavailable, as his close association with Tyrion has placed him under suspicion. Pod confirms that there's been no sign of Shae, which Tyrion takes as a rare piece of good news. Tyrion asks to speak with Jaime and cautions Pod to stay vigilant, warning that they, referring to the spies of Tywin, Cersei, Varys, and potentially others, could be anywhere. Tyrion reflects that many people had a motive to kill Joffrey, though he firmly rules out Cersei. Fearing for Pod's safety due to his loyalty, Tyrion urges him to leave King's Landing, especially after Pod refused to testify against him, despite the tempting offer of a knighthood. As Pod turns to leave, Tyrion stops him and says with heartfelt gratitude, "There has never lived a more loyal squire." As Arya Stark and the Hound travel through the Riverlands, on their way to the Vale where Arya can be ransomed to her wealthy aunt, Lisa Arryn, they encounter a farmer and his young daughter. Thinking quickly, Arya invents a story that the Hound is her father and a knight sworn to house Tully. The farmer believes her and generously offers them shelter for the night, sharing a meal with them. Hungry and exhausted, Arya and the Hound devour the food. The next morning, Arya awakens to the sound of the farmer's daughter screaming. Rushing outside, she discovers that the Hound has assaulted the farmer and stolen his silver. Stunned and horrified, Arya demands to know why he would do such a thing. The Hound responds coldly, "A dead man doesn't need his silver," reasoning that the farmer is too weak to survive the coming winter, and that the silver would be better used by someone stronger. At Dragonstone, Stannis Baratheon receives word of Joffrey's death and cautions Esser Davos that their window to seize the Iron Throne is closing, unless they can secure an army to resume their campaign. Later, while Esser Davos continues his reading lessons with Princess Shireen Baratheon, inspiration strikes. A powerful potential ally lies across the narrow sea, the Iron Bank of Braavos. A village south of the Wall is ruthlessly attacked by raiding wildlings, led by Tormund and the savage Thens. As the villagers are mercilessly slaughtered, Styr, the then leader, spares a lone boy and sends him to Castle Black with a grim message, a harrowing account of the massacre, and a stark warning that worse is yet to come. At Castle Black, Samwell Tarly grows increasingly worried for Gilly's safety amid the growing threats. Determined to protect her, he relocates Gilly to a nearby vassal town known for providing the Night's Watch brothers with bodily comforts. Though torn over leaving her there, Sam vows to visit her frequently and sternly instructs the innkeeper that Gilly is not to be touched under any circumstances. After receiving reports of wildling raids to the south, the Lord Commander grimly states that the Night's Watch lacks the manpower to mount a defense beyond the wall. Their discussion is interrupted by the return of Ed and Gren, who have managed to escape from Craster's Keep. Jon reminds them that he had told Mance Rayder that Castle Black was defended by 1,000 men, a bluff that could unravel if Mance reaches Craster's Keep first. Jon warns that Rast and Carl Tanner, the traitorous brothers now holding Craster's Keep, would eagerly reveal the truth. He insists that the Night's Watch must send a party to eliminate the traitors before they betray Castle Black's weakness to Mance. In Slaver's Bay, Daenerys Targaryen arrives at the gates of Meereen to begin her siege of the slave city. A knight of Meereen rides out and challenges her to a champion's duel. Grey Worm, Jorah, and Barristan all offer to fight on her behalf, but Daenerys declines, considering them too valuable to risk. Daario Naharis, the commander of the Second Sons, steps forward and volunteers to be her champion. Daenerys accepts, and Daario swiftly defeats the Meereenese champion by killing his horse and striking him down with ease. With the champion dead, Daenerys addresses the gathered slaves, speaking of freedom and the end of their chains. To drive her message home, she orders catapults to hurl the broken chains of freed slaves over the city walls, a powerful symbol of her past victories. As the slaves examine the chains, the great masters watch from the city walls, their expressions betraying a growing sense of fear. Tommen accompanies his family north to Winterfell, traveling in a litter alongside his mother. Upon arriving, he and Myrcella are wide-eyed with awe at the sight of the mighty castle. While eating breakfast with his mother, biological father, and sister, Tommen lights up as his uncle Tyrion joins them, playfully lifting him aside to sit down. Myrcella anxiously asks if Bran Stark will survive, and Tyrion reassures her that Bran is expected to live. News that delights Myrcella but visibly unsettles Cersei. Tyrion then mentions his desire to visit the Wall and see the wintry abode of the White Walkers, sparking excitement in both Tommen and Myrcella. He adds that he also wants to urinate off the edge of the wall, earning a burst of laughter from the children. Cersei, irritated by Tyrion's crude remark, swiftly calls the children away and leaves. Later, Tommen attends the tournament held to celebrate Eddard Stark's appointment as Hand of the King. The cheerful atmosphere takes a dark turn when Gregor Clegane gruesomely kills his opponent in what seems to be a brutal accident. Gregor then beheads his own horse in a violent rage, causing Tommen to leap from his seat in shock and horror as the crowd gasps. Tommen attends Joffrey's name day tournament, where he beams with delight when his uncle Tyrion Lannister arrives, and jokingly tells him that one day he will grow to be as big as the Hound, but much better looking. However, Tommen's joy quickly fades when Joffrey orders Esser Dantos Hollard to be drowned in wine. His discomfort is clear, and he looks visibly relieved when Sansa convinces Joffrey to spare Dantos's life. Later, Tommen attends a dinner with Myrcella, Cersei, and Sansa Stark. He innocently asks whether Robb Stark will be killed after the war, admitting that he wouldn't like that outcome, a rare moment of empathy within the Lannister family. When Myrcella is sent to Dorne as part of a marriage alliance with House Martell, Tommen, who shares a close bond with his sister, is heartbroken. He watches from the harbor as her ship sails away, openly sobbing at the loss of one of the few family members who genuinely cared for him. Joffrey mocks him for crying, but Sansa defends Tommen. On their way back to the Red Keep, Tyrion senses rising unrest among the small folk, and wisely orders Tommen to be taken along a separate route, sparing him from the violent riots that soon erupt in King's Landing. During the Battle of the Blackwater, Tommen takes refuge in Maegor's Holdfast. He dozes in a chair while Cersei drinks heavily to steady her nerves. As the battle takes a dire turn, Cersei brings him to the Iron Throne Room and attempts to calm him with a story about the supremacy of lions in the animal kingdom. She tells him that the forest is full of dangerous beasts, stags, wolves, and dragons, but that lions rule over them all. Tommen, however, is unconvinced, innocently pointing out that stags aren't dangerous since they only eat grass. As the city's defenses weaken, Cersei prepares to give him a dose of Essence of Nightshade from Grand Maester Pycelle, a lethal poison, to spare him from capture and torment. Just as she's about to administer it, Tywin Lannister bursts in, triumphantly announcing their victory and saving Tommen from his mother's dark mercy.